This is just a brief little overview as for how important and related the topic of political economy is. So if it sounds like I'm reading, obviously I am. I just wanted to make something accessible so then people actually get the topic. So enjoy. Everything is political. Not because every conversation needs to be turned into a party debate, not because every personal choice should become a moral performance, and not because ordinary people are secretly trying to quote unquote make things political. Everything is political because we live in a system of power, ownership, labor, law, money, land, media, policing, housing, education, healthcare, and production. Those systems shape what choices are available to us before we ever get to choose. Politics is not just elections, parties, politicians, culture war arguments, or people fighting online. Politics is the structure behind everyday life. Who has power, who makes decisions, who gets resources, who is forced to pay, who has to work, who gets to own, who is protected by the system, as well as who is disciplined by it, and those whose pain is treated as an acceptable cost. When somebody says, quote unquote, keep politics out of it, they're often not referring to removing politics at all. They are protecting the politics that are already there. The politics of the status quo, the politics of existing power, the politics that pretend the world simply just has to be this way. But the world does not, quote unquote, just work this way. It's organized. Your rent is political, your wage is political, the price of food is political, the length of your workday is political, the fact that some people own multiple houses while others sleep in cars is political, the fact that healthcare, education, transport, energy, and the internet can be treated as a profit opportunity instead of a basic social need is political. Even what counts as common sense is political, because common sense is shaped by institutions, media, schools, workplaces, advertising, and the economic interests behind them. That is where political economy becomes such a powerful way of analyzing the world. Political economy asks us to stop separating the economy from politics, as if they are two different planets. The economy is not some neutral machine floating above society. It is a set of social relationships. It is made of laws, contracts, property rights, workplaces, class power, state policy, financial systems, global trade, colonial histories, resource extraction, unpaid labor, and organized violence. Markets do not simply appear out of nature. They are created, maintained, protected, and enforced. This matters because capitalism tries to present its own political choices as if they are natural facts. Low wages are treated as quote-unquote the market. Housing insecurity is treated as quote-unquote supply and demand. Poverty is treated as quote-unquote personal failures. Billionaires are treated as quote-unquote proof of merit. Austerity is treated as quote-unquote responsibility. Public services are treated as quote-unquote expensive. While corporate subsidies, tax loopholes, bailouts, and military budgets are treated as normal. And that is why political economy is so useful. It reveals a hidden structure behind everyday life. It shows that the workplace is political because most people spend much of their lives under the authority of an employer they did not elect. It shows that housing is political because land and shelter are controlled through ownership, debt, rent, speculation, zoning, banking, and state policy. It shows that media is political because institutions that shape public opinion are usually owned by wealthy interests and are funded through advertising, corporate access, and attention markets. It shows that technology is political because platforms, algorithms, surveillance, intellectual property, and data extraction are not neutral tools. They are built inside the profit-driven systems. Political economy also helps explain why so many problems are individualized. If you are tired, burnt out, broke, anxious, lonely, or insecure, the dominant message is usually that you personally failed. You did not budget well enough, you did not grind hard enough, you did not optimize yourself, you didn't take the right choices. But political economy asks the better question as for why are there so many people experiencing the same fucking thing at the same fucking time under the same fucking economic system. Because if millions of people are struggling with rent, debt, overwork, medical costs, unstable jobs, and social isolation, then the problem is not just millions of separate personal failures. The problem is structural, is built into how society is organized, and that once you see that, you start to understand why the ruling class ideology works so hard to make structural problems look personal. A system is much easier to defend when everyone is trained to blame themselves. This does not mean that individual choices never matter, of course they do. but our choices are made inside conditions that we did not individually create. Political economy gives us the tools to analyze those conditions. It helps us to understand how power moves through not only money, but also ownership, the state, media, and especially ideology and class relations. It helps explain why some ideas are treated as quote-unquote realistic, while others are dismissed as impossible. It helps us to see why the economy has always seemed to be treated as more important than human life itself. Because under capitalism, human needs are constantly subordinated to profit. And that is the key point. Saying everything is political is not about making life more exhausting, it's about making power visible. Once power is visible, the world starts to look different. The landlord is not just a private individual charging rent. They are part of a property system backed by law, finance, police, and scarcity. The boss is not just a manager. They are part of a class relation where one side owns the workplace and the other must sell their time to survive. The billionaire is not just a successful entrepreneur. They are evidence of an economic order that allows a tiny minority to accumulate absurd amounts of wealth from the labor, land, infrastructure, and social cooperation of everyone else. Political economy doesn't let capitalism hide behind neutrality. It refuses the fantasy that economics is just numbers, graphs, and markets. It reminds us that every economy is a political project, that every budget is a political document, that every workplace is a political institution, that every property system is a political arrangement, and that every crisis has winners and losers. Every quote-unquote necessary sacrifice should make us ask, sacrifice to whom and for whose benefit? So when people say, why does everything have to be so political? The answer is because everything already is. The only question is whether we're honest about it. Political economy is not just an abstract academic exercise, but a practicing tool for cutting through propaganda, ideology, and the capitalist quote-unquote common sense. Because once you understand that the economy is political, you stop treating exploitation as natural. You stop treating poverty as inevitable. You stop treating inequality as the result of individual worth. And you start to ask the more quote-unquote dangerous questions. Who owns the world? Who works for it? Who profits from it? And who suffers for it? And how could this be organized differently?